Gary Parrish, Saturday, March 26, 2022. Welcome back to the CBS Sports Eye on College Basketball Podcast, where we sometimes discuss camel fighting, dodo birds, and leaky black. Kyle Boone is here with me. And please note that the Eye on College Basketball Podcast is presented by Jersey Mike's, which is a proud sponsor of the Naismith Award. Jersey Mike's would like to offer congratulations to all the athletes on this season's Naismith watch list. And we're going to get to that Naismith watch list toward the end of this episode. And before we're done, we'll also spend a few minutes on Memphis being charged with 4 level 1 violations. The notice of allegations was made public earlier on Saturday. If you're watching live on YouTube, please smash the like button like you're Brandon Davies. That helps us, so I thank you in advance. And if we get enough likes on this video on YouTube, Nada's going to give away another $100 gift card to Paramount Plus, which is your place to stream NCAA tournament games, the NFL, Champions League, PJ Tour, and some of the best films and shows being made right now. Among them, Halo, which is streaming now exclusively on Paramount Plus. So just shout out, Peacocks or Larnell or Leaky Black or Huck the Dog or Doug Edwards Mustard, whatever you want in the comments. Leave your Twitter handle, your Instagram handle with your comment. And if you win, Nada will contact you and hook you up. Let's get to it. 2 teams punch tickets to the 2022 Final Four on Saturday. Villanova was the first 50-44 win over Houston. Duke was the second 78-69 win over Arkansas. Strong jaw. Let's start with the second game, Duke Arkansas. Coach K wins it, now in the Final Four for the first time since 2015, but for a record 13th time in his career. And once again, Duke was fabulous offensively. Texas Tech, which is who Duke played in the Sweet 16, has been the best defensive team in the country, like all season. Since January 9th, which is the day after Arkansas started 0-3 in the SEC. If you run the data from there, top 2 defensive teams in America, according to adjusted defensive efficiency at barttorvik.com, were Texas Tech and Arkansas. 1 and 2 in that order. Duke shot 51.9% against Texas Tech from the field, 54.7% from the field against Arkansas. Just awesome offensively against, for more than 2 months now, literally the best 2 defenses in America. What do you make of what we saw from Coach K's Blue Devils?
Yeah, super impressive. This Duke team, I think my complaint coming into the postseason was that they have so much talent, maybe more than any team in college basketball. But throughout the season, it didn't really feel like this team got better. And you would think with as many freshmen and young players on this team that eventually throughout the year, they would start to click. They would start to find their roles. They'd start to look like, a potential Final Four team. And there were some flashes, absolutely. But this Duke team, I never really felt like took the next step. And I'm not sure exactly what happened, but this Duke team that we've seen in the NCAA tournament looks different. They look so much better than what we saw for most of the regular season. Mark Williams is just dominating teams inside. Paolo Banchero is scoring at an elite level as he's done all year. I mean, we've talked about Jeremy Roach already, just stepping up to the plate. They have so many guys that can come at you. And even against some of the best defenses in all of college basketball, Arkansas tonight, Texas Tech in the Sweet 16, they just keep on moving along. And this suddenly looks like maybe the most dangerous team left standing in the field. Was really impressed with how they handled Arkansas tonight. I mean, this game was not close. I mean, 78-69, but there was really no doubt that Duke was advancing and doing so in pretty decisive fashion.
I'll be interested to see what the updated odds look like for favorite to win the 2022 NCAA tournament when they update after the Elite Eight, because Kansas is a favorite over Miami on Sunday. The Jayhawks are the only number 1 seed left in the bracket. They are in the Elite Eight playing a double-digit seed. Miami can win that game, but Kansas should win that game. And then it'll be, if it goes that way, Duke, Villanova, and then, you'll have one seed left in the bracket.
Mm-hmm.
And it'll be interesting to see if at that point, and then of course either North Carolina or St. Peter's, and it'll be interesting to see at that point, even if Kansas is the lone 1 seed left, if Duke is actually the favorite heading into the Final Four to win the national title. I'm not sure they will be, but certainly based on the way the Blue Devils are playing right now, you could make the case. As we talked about all season, dating back to the preseason, Coach K always was going to, in his final season, have a team talented enough to do the whole thing. I've never said that's why he came back. I don't think it is. I think largely he came back because I don't think he wanted to end in the middle of a COVID season, missing the NCAA tournament. That's just not how the greatest college basketball coach in history's career should end. And I don't think, in fact, I was told by people close to him, he just wasn't comfortable with that. And he knew that if he came back, given the recruiting class he was about to enroll, that it wouldn't go that way again. And then, Duke was ranked number 1 in the country at one point in the season, but, took some real questionable losses. In fact, based on resume alone, and we talked about this on Selection Sunday, I don't think Duke should have even been a 2 seed. Not based on talent. Based on talent, Duke could have been a 1 seed. But based on actual resume, I didn't think Duke should have been a 2 seed. I thought Tennessee should have been a 2 seed. And if you had to push somebody off that line, it was probably Duke. Because if I remember correctly, Duke had more losses outside of Quadrant 1 on Selection Sunday than all of the other 2 seeds plus Tennessee combined. I think Duke had maybe 4, and all the other 2 seeds and Tennessee combined maybe had 1. So Duke did not, I don't think, have a top 8 resume, but Duke always had a top 8 roster. And now I think going into the Final Four, regardless of what happens on Sunday, Duke is going to go there. This is just the truth. With the greatest tournament coach in college basketball history and the best roster in New Orleans.
Yep, that's exactly right. And from what we saw against Arkansas, again, they're probably not going to be the favorite. I would imagine that the number 1 seed that's still standing, Kansas, assuming they win, will be the favorite. But they have so many guys that they can throw at you between Mark Williams. AJ Griffin tonight had a very quiet 18 points. Wendell Moore had 14 points. Paolo was 16. Mark Williams, 12 points, 12 rebounds, tied for the most blocks by a Duke player in an NCAA tournament, with 16 blocks after recording 3 tonight. So just the depth that they have so many top-end guys. It feels like they're coming together at just the right time. And even coming out of my mouth, that feels a little bit cliche to say. But, this Duke team, there was never a question about talent. It was a matter of, can the pieces fit together? Can they gel at the right time? Can they play at a high level consistently? We saw it in spurts throughout the season, but now at just the right time, Coach K, in almost like a storybook kind of ending, and we'll see how the rest of the tournament unfolds, is he's got his team kind of completely tuned and moving in the right direction.
Do we have a sense for whether the country is rooting for this or rooting against this?
I think the entire country is invested in this. I would imagine that like 83.65% is rooting against it. Would you say
really?
Over, under?
I would think under. I think I know that there's an anti-Duke sentiment, and I know that there are people who, it's Duke, D-O-O-K, that, or puke. Like, I got it. I know those people exist, and they're still out there. But I do think on some level, people love great stories and great endings. And for the same reasons, even if you didn't love Tom Brady, when you thought he might walk away after that 1 season in Tampa Bay, the idea of him walking away with the Super Bowl was kind of cool. Now we know he's going to play till he's 70. But at the time, it was like, is this it? And if this is it, wow, what an ending. Like, I'm not a Tom Brady fan. I mean, I don't hate him, but like, I don't care. I'm indifferent. But even I was like, that's kind of awesome. He left New England, went to Tampa Bay. This really might be it. And he just won another Super Bowl. Wow. Amazing. And I do think there's some people, maybe not the Duke haters, but like the people who are indifferent to Duke. Like Duke's been a part of their lives forever. And, they don't love them, but they don't hate them. They're just sort of indifferent. I think those people can probably get behind the idea of, you know what? It would be kind of cool next Monday to watch this guy at the age of 75 walk off with a championship. I do think those people exist somewhere. I don't know how many of them there are, but they got to be out there somewhere.
Yeah, I think there's probably more of those than I'm probably giving credit for. There's a lot of just casual college basketball fans who maybe only tune in for the NCAA tournament, who they tune in and watch a game, they recognize Coach K, they recognize Duke. They may not recognize, I don't know, whoever's left standing in Kansas. They probably do recognize Kansas, but St. Peter's, they certainly don't recognize St. Peter's. So, this is clearly obviously the story of the NCAA tournament going into the Final Four. And it's pretty awesome. Like I've got goosebumps thinking about seeing Coach K playing or coaching his last game as a college head coach. Like seeing that in person next week in New Orleans is going to be pretty sweet.
So we now know Duke will be playing next Saturday. Villanova playing next Saturday. Duke will play either North Carolina or St. Peter's, either of which will be awesome. Like, we've talked about this before, so I won't spend much time on it, but big brands are what actually do big television numbers. It's not, isn't George Mason a great story? That's not great for television. Or isn't VCU going to the Final Four? Isn't that wonderful? Loyola Chicago. Like, that's all fine and fun and unique, but it's not the thing that generates the big number. The thing that generates the big number is Duke, North Carolina. Like that's the thing that like, wow. But I gather from talking to people who know more about this than I do, that St. Peter's getting there is not the worst thing in the world, because trivia time. And I'm not trying to catch you off guard. I'm just trying to prove a point. Okay. What is UMBC beat Virginia? First 16 to ever beat a 1 seed. Great story. What's their mascot?
It's some sort of dog. I'm going to say...
It doesn't even matter. That's my point. Everybody knows peacocks.
It was like close on the dog, though.
It's terriers, I believe.
Terriers. There you go. Hey,
yeah. But and it might not be, but that's what popped into my head. But that's the point. Like, I'm not 100% sure what it is, and you weren't either. But everybody knows peacocks. That's so easy. Shaheen Holloway, is it now? Some people are on YouTube comments saying the Retrievers. It's the Retrievers. People are saying, I don't know. That's my point. It's like, what? Like, that was awesome, but like that was just a thing. Peacocks is like taking over. Everybody. Everybody's into the peacocks. Shaheen Holloway has been incredible in these interview sessions. Doug Edder's got the mustache going. Like, everybody's in love with the peacock story. And so St. Peter's getting there, to play Duke, I don't think is the worst thing in the world, because you've probably got, a classic, definitely a classic David Goliath thing, but arguably the biggest David Goliath thing we've ever seen in the Final Four. And then, of course, the alternative to that is Duke, North Carolina, two rivals playing in the NCAA tournament for the first time ever in Coach K's last season ever. I mean, what? I don't know if you saw the postgame interview with Tracy Wolfson, and she was talking to Paolo Banchero, who famously in the ACC tournament, Duke wins, they advance to the finals, and then they're going to play either Virginia Tech or North Carolina. And the sideline reporter, forgive me, I don't remember who was there. I didn't even remember who UMBC's mascot was. And the sideline reporter said, so it's either North Carolina or Virginia Tech tomorrow. Who do you want? And that's a question that gets asked sometimes. It never gets answered. We're just, they're both good teams. We're just focused on us. Nobody ever actually answers the question. And Paulo was like, North Carolina. We want North Carolina. And, of course, then Virginia Tech won the game, and then Virginia Tech beat Duke and whatever. But this time, Tracy Wolfson, it was funny. She asked Paula, she said, so it's either going to be North Carolina or St. Peter's in the Final Four. Who do you want to play? And he was like, you're not getting me this time. he like laughed or smiled, and she laughed, and it was really good. But, obviously, I think probably Duke, North Carolina, these two forever rivals separated by not very much road, especially given that Carolina ruined Coach K's final game inside Cameron Indoor. I think clearly that's bigger and that's better. But St. Peter's is awesome too. I like that. Whatever. Like here's what I can promise you. No matter who wins on Sunday between Carolina and St. Peter's, that Duke game in the Final Four is going to be incredible, the build up to it. And it will be the second of the two Final Four games. Like whoever Villanova plays, that's coming first.
Right.
Because the headliner is going to be Duke against either the Peacocks or the Tar Heels. I don't have a Tar Heel impression. I'm sorry.
I mean, St. Peter's has already made literally history, NCAA tournament history. They're the first 15 seed to ever make it to the Elite Eight. And we remember Florida Gulf Coast, the other 15 seed who made it to the Sweet 16 before, Oral Roberts, who last year made it to the Sweet 16. Those are fantastic stories. But what St. Peter's has done getting to the Elite Eight is something that, I mean, it may very well be the best Cinderella story in NCAA tournament history. So if they're in the Final Four, I mean, that's a huge, I think people are tuning in for that. That's a huge draw. It's still not Duke, North Carolina. And I know Nada's with me on this. The draw for those two programs would be so massive. The buildup would be so spectacular. Coach K obviously lost to North Carolina in his last game in Cameron Indoor. I mean, just the storylines that abound, the fact that they've never played in an NCAA tournament against each other would just be fantastic. I really, honestly, I'm not rooting for either team. I think probably our bosses may be slightly rooting for North Carolina. I don't know. But yeah, this is either way on Sunday. I'm really fascinated to see because I think either matchup is going to be fantastic. The Final Four.
Bigger draw.
Yeah.
Duke St. Peter's, Duke Carolina, or me on TBS just doing peacock sounds over and over again.
The last one.
I think so.
Yeah, undoubtedly.
I think that's probably true. Let's
G
move
Peacock.
on. I actually think that's funny. Whoever came up with that, that's really good. G Peacock is hilarious. It wasn't the prettiest game in the history of the sport, but Jay Wright will take it, I'm certain. Villanova in the Final Four for the fourth time in his career. 2 wins away from his third national title. We'll get into that next, but first, a word from our sponsors.
The covenant will not stop.
There is something within us. Something sacred. Something worth protecting. Silver King, on me.
Reminder, if you're watching on YouTube, hey YouTube, if you're watching on YouTube, make sure to smash the like button like you're Brandon Davis. That really does mean something to us. So please knock that out. Like I said, wasn't the prettiest game in the history of the sport, but Jay Wright will take it. Final score, Villanova 50, Houston 44. So the Wildcats are in the Final Four for the fourth time in the past 13 NCAA tournaments, including the third time in the past 6 NCAA tournaments. Like they basically go every other year now. As Kentucky fans know, John Calipari's Wildcats haven't been to the Final Four since 2015. Meantime, Jay Wright's Wildcats have been 3 times since 2015. Strong Jaw, your thoughts on Villanova heading to New Orleans?
Yeah, if you stats and nuggets just off the top because I was doing some research for a story for CBS. Since 2011, this is as far back as the College Basketball Reference database goes, teams that scored 50 or fewer points in the NCAA tournament were 2-68.
Oh.
2-68. So now it's 3-68. Villanova became one of those three. This was not an aesthetically pleasing game by any means. There was a lot of defense. There was a lot of open missed shots. Villanova, which averages just under 73 points per game, scored 50 points. That's the fewest it has scored in a game since 2018. Houston, which is averaging more than 75 points per game, scored 44 points. It's the fewest it has scored in a game since 2015. And Clark Kellogg post-game said that 14 of Houston's 20 three-point attempts were not contested looks. It finished the game from three-point range, 1 of 20. Was pretty ugly. There was a lot of defense. Kelvin Sampson after the game said, if you had told me before the game that we were going to hold them to 28% shooting from the field and 23% from the three-point line and we'd lose, I wouldn't have believed you. Our kids guarded. Man, did they guard. Our defense was spot on. We held them to 50 points. We had a lot of opportunities, and they just didn't go in. That happens. There was this was not a pretty game, but it was a really good win for Villanova. I think the storyline coming out of this one is the injury to Justin Moore, Villanova's second leading scorer. Jay Wright after the game said that the x-ray was fine, no broken bones. He said, but it's probably not good for Justin. We're going to get an MRI when we get back, but it's probably not good. So we'll see. I think that's the huge storyline. Yeah, go ahead.
Obviously it is. On one hand, you're celebrating, you're back in the Final Four. On the other hand, you're probably playing in the Final Four without your second leading scorer. And I know you saw it, Justin, on the sideline, because this happened late in the game. And, they're celebrating. We're going to the Final Four, and he's on the bench crying. He's in tears because my experience with basketball players and injuries is that they know. Mm-hmm. They don't need an MRI. They're going to get one for the confirmation, but they know. And I'm not going to try to diagnose him from a hotel room in New York City, but, it looked like what it looked like. And when Jay said what he said, which is there's nothing broken, but it doesn't look good, that suggests that that's a season-ending injury that will require surgery. And just a total gut punch because you want that moment. You heard Mike Krzyzewski in the postgame say there's nothing like, winning a regional. Like there's nothing like, winning that fourth game in the tournament, if you're in the, if you avoid the first four, it'll be your fourth game. Nothing like winning that fourth game in the tournament and then knowing, man, we're going to go home and then we're going to get back on a plane and we're going to play next Saturday in a dome in the final. There's nothing like that. So if you're Villanova, you want to be celebrating that. And they did, but it was kind of a bummer given that, one of the, I hate to throw around words like this, but these are the type of words athletes throw around all the time. Like one of their brothers, is probably not going to be able to participate, which stinks on a very basic level, but also makes winning two more games a lot harder than it otherwise would be. As for the game, like you pointed out, you're not supposed to score 50 points and win a regional final. You're not supposed to shoot 28.8% from the field, 23.8% from three, and win a regional final. But they did, in part because Houston was terrible offensively, and we'll get to that, but also in part because Villanova, this is incredible. They win games at the free throw line. 15 of 15 from the free throw line. They're now shooting 83% from the free throw line on the season, which ranks first nationally. And let's take it a step further. Do you know what the record is? Trivia time. Who holds the record for highest free throw percentage as a team in Division I men's college basketball history?
Oh, knee jerk. I want to say like Baylor last year, but that was probably not right. Is it a former? Is it a Jay Wright coach team from years past?
Nope. Nope. It happened in the 80s.
Was it the Retrievers?
It was not the Retrievers. That's a good guess, but it was not the Retrievers. I'll give it to you. It was Harvard. Harvard
Harvard.
Those smart kids.
Shoot,
In
man.
1984, they shot 82.2% from the free throw line. That's the record. Baylor shooting 83%. Villanova shooting 83% from the free throw line on the season after going 15 of 15 against Houston. Villanova could go down as the best free throw shooting team in Division I men's basketball history. So that's how they won the game, despite shooting under 30% from the field, under 25% from three. They were 100% from the free throw line. How about this? Houston attempted more shots, had more made field goals, and had a better field goal percentage. Still lost the game. Sometimes you can have a better field goal percentage, but lose because you turn it over too much and the other team got way more shots. Houston attempted more shots, had a higher field goal percentage, and still lost the game. And that's because they were 1 of 20, like you said, from three. Kyler Edwards, 0 of 8. Jamal Shedd, 0 of 5. Taze Moore, only Cougar who made one, and he made one. Kelvin was terrific post-game. Said, listen, I'm disappointed in the loss, but I'm not disappointed in this team. Proud of this team. And he should be. I mean, what an amazing season for Houston. Let me ask you this, because on Monday, I'm sure you got the email. We have to turn in ballots for CBSSports.com. First team All-American, second team All-American, third team All-American, coach of the year, freshman of the year, player of the year. I'm pretty sure, let me sleep on it. I'm pretty sure Kelvin Sampson's still going to be my national coach of the year. Let me make the case for him real quick. Ranked 15th in the preseason AP poll. Lost 2 of his top 4 players in December, including his leading scorer at the time. Still won his league, still won his league tournament, still made the Elite Eight, beat a Big Ten champ and a Pac-12 champ in the NCAA tournament. Started 11th at KenPom, finished second. So they exceeded all expectations in the human polls and in the computers, despite losing 2 of their top 4 players in December. Tell me who did a better job coaching this year than that.
Houston lost 2 of its top 4 players in December.
Let's keep saying it over and over. People forget that. Anybody who listens to this podcast will never forget that for the rest of their lives. They'll be sitting around on their deathbed, 45 years from now, like, remember that time Houston lost 2 of its top 4 players in December?
Crazy.
What a wild season that was.
I committed on the podcast earlier this week that I would be voting Kelvin Sampson for Coach of the Year. I have already cast my vote. It is for Kelvin Sampson, just because of what that team was able to accomplish, despite, people forget, losing 2 of their top 4 players in December. This was a really magical run for Houston, and I do my best to not be influenced by recency. And big picture, I really do believe that Kelvin Sampson was the best coach in college basketball this season. What he was able to overcome throughout the year, what they were able to do in the NCAA tournament, how they were able to play, the style that they play, that to me, I think, won out. I think you can reasonably make a case for Ed Cooley. If you want to make a case for Tommy Lloyd or Bill Self, I would not argue against you, but Kelvin Sampson. Yeah, Scott Drew. Sure.
I think you can make Scott Drew lost 4 starters from last season's title team.
Yep.
Lost 2 of his, let's say, top 6. And it's not 2 of the top 4, but say 2 of the top 6 in LJ Cryer and Jonathan Chachawa. Mid-season, still got a 1 seed in the NCAA tournament. Like, my ballot will be Kelvin Sampson, and then in some order, Scott Drew, Tommy Lloyd, Ed Cooley, I believe.
Yeah. I did include Bill Self on my ballot. That's
fine too. Like, totally makes sense.
I know Kansas fans may revolt at that, but I think that's fair. He's third on my ballot.
Yeah, no, that, like, in reasonable minds, this isn't one where it seems obvious to me, like there's only one guy to vote for. But I do think when you go through what I just explained, 15th in the preseason AP poll, lose 2 of the top 4 in December, still win your league tournament, make the Elite Eight, beat a Big Ten champ and a Pac-12 champ in the NCAA tournament. Started 11th at Ken Palm, finished second at Ken Palm despite losing 2 of the top 4 in December. Like, that's outrageous. Like, we might go another 20 years without being able to say those sentences about somebody. Lose 2 of your top 4 in December. Let's set the criteria now, and let's see if we can ever revisit this. Lose 2 of your top 4, let's say, before January 1. Still win your league, still win your league tournament, still go to the Elite Eight, and finish higher in the human polls and higher in the computers than you were predicted to be in the preseason. That's hard to do.
It's not happening again. It's
Maybe
probably not
never
happening
happen
again. Yeah.
Might not ever happen again. So congrats to Houston on an incredible season, even if I know the Cougars are disappointed having it come one win short of the Final Four. And Villanova, again, I do want to circle back to the Wildcats because I feel like, we talked about an injury and then we made our cases for Kelvin Sampson and just sort of glossed over, Villanova won the game. And it wasn't their best performance, but you take wins at this point in the tournament, however you can get them. And, I mean, I don't know what more you can say about Jay Wright other than he is on the very short list of people running the very best programs in America right now. Like Villanova, and Kelvin made this point heading into this game, like Villanova's always been good. Nobody had to take Villanova and, from the dumps to greatness. Right. Villanova won a title in 85. Villanova has been a relevant basketball program basically my entire life. But Jay has undeniably taken it to another level. And when you do 3 Final Fours in a 6-year span, now just 2 wins away from your 3rd national championship, like 1 national championship's amazing. 2 puts you on a relatively short list. 3 puts you on a very, very, very short list. And obviously, I don't know if they'll be able to get there. This thing is actually, if Kansas gets there, starting to open up for Kansas. Yep. I mean, listen to what I'm about to tell you. Kansas is going to play a double-digit seed in the Elite Eight and then play a team in the Final Four if they win that game that's going to be probably missing its second leading scorer. Like this, and they'll go to New Orleans as the only number 1 seed left. Like this thing is starting to it's one of those deals where Kansas was either the 3rd or 4th number 1 seed, depending on who you talk to. I think according to the selection committee, 3rd, Baylor 4, but like people could argue that other direction. There was not a single point in this season where anybody ever said Kansas is the best team in the country, or Kansas was number 1, or Kansas was, atop the computers. But now they got a chance to, if they beat a double-digit seed on Sunday, go to the Final Four as the only number 1 seed, and their national semifinal game will be against a team that is missing its 2nd leading scorer. I'm not trying to put any pressure on Bill Self because, whatever. But it's sometimes in this sport, you have the best team, and you don't win. Sometimes in the sport, you might not have the best team, but it kind of opens up for you, and you got to walk through it. And Kansas is at a point right now where it looks like maybe you need to walk through this thing.
Yeah, in the Midwest, I think that region was kind of the one that I had circled before the tournament as the most easy to advance among all 1 seeds. Now, Arizona had a path that I thought could be pretty viable, and same with Gonzaga. But to me, Kansas in that Midwest region, with Johnny Davis hurting as the 3 seed for Wisconsin, Auburn, the number 2 seed in that region, obviously stumbling down the stretch, and they flamed out early. That always looked to me like the easiest path. And now, if you're a Kansas fan, getting to the Final Four is the bar if you're Kansas, right? But now, I think if you're a Kansas fan, like, you're going to be disappointed if you don't win at all. This feels like it's starting to open up for the Jayhawks, and they've obviously got some steps to go before they can do that. They have to win in the Elite Eight before they can get to the Final Four, and they have to win in the Final Four. They go to the national championship. But the way this tournament has completely opened up for Kansas is just an absolute gift. And I do find it interesting, the fact that just a few years ago, the pandemic year, Kansas, right, I think would have been the favorite to win the national championship. I think they would
That's
have
right.
been the
They
number
would
one
have
overall
been the number one
seed.
overall. Yes, they would have been the number one
Easily.
overall seed. They were number one at Ken Palm. So
Yep.
if that tournament would have been played and gone as projected, Bill Self would have 2 right now and maybe on his way to 3.
Yep. So, and that's, I actually found it interesting because I don't remember who it was. I believe it was Ochai Agbaji. One of the Kansas players mentioned today or this weekend that they're playing for the 2020 team because they felt like, they missed an opportunity to really put Kansas on the map. And now obviously Kansas is on the map. They're a blue blood school.
Yeah.
But they missed a chance to win it all in 2020. And I would have picked them to win it all. And now here we are 2 years later with a realistic chance for Bill Self to get his second national championship.
So we got Duke in the Final Four. We got Villanova in the Final Four. We'll see what happens in Sunday's game. And then me and Matt Norlander will be back on Sunday night shortly after the second game concludes to discuss, what happened on Sunday and look ahead to the Final Four. Away from the NCAA tournament, there was a big headline on Saturday out of Memphis. The Daily Memphian and the Commercial Appeal both obtained copies of Memphis's notice of allegations. Not pretty. 4 level 1 violations. The notice of allegations that Memphis released, it is heavily redacted, so we remain light on details. But again, there are 4 level 1 violations, and what we do know is that it alleges that Memphis, quote, failed to disclose and provide access to all personal devices, failed to timely produce requested and relevant documents, and failed to protect the integrity of the investigation. Memphis is more or less accused of obstructing the investigation. If true, that's obviously bad. Strongjaw, as an Oklahoma State alum, you know what it's like to have NCAA issues. How concerned should Memphis fans be right now?
Yeah, I was actually just thinking about this in the context of Oklahoma State. I would imagine that Memphis is going to be hit pretty hard. Probably a postseason ban, I would think, would be kind of the bar. Oklahoma State had a postseason ban. They had scholarship losses. They're on probation. And this was for a former assistant, Lamont Evans, who allegedly accepted like $18,000 in bribery money to use his influence to steer players to certain financial advisors. OSU fired him, but the NCAA said an aggravating factor in that case was Evans' decision not to cooperate. Oklahoma State cooperated in full with NCAA investigators, and they were still hit really, really hard. The fact that Memphis openly defied what is typically NCAA tradition, in this case being James Wiseman's eligibility questions. Typically, if that happens, a school holds out a player until they're able to clear it with the NCAA. James Wiseman kept playing. James Wiseman filed a lawsuit. He got an injunction, and he was able to keep playing. Now, he only played in 3 games for Memphis. I'm not sure if you take that into account or not. Obviously, the NCAA did not. But Memphis's open defiance of NCAA norms, the fact that they did not properly preserve documents is how the NCAA put it. Mike Miller's hard drive was wiped. It doesn't look good for Memphis. We will see, I guess, how this goes. The Memphis case is obviously going through IARP. Oklahoma State's case did not go through IARP. But this looks pretty grim for Penny Hardaway, who was the only individual mentioned in the case, and for Memphis too. I would imagine they're going to be facing some pretty stiff penalties, and I'm curious to see how they handle Memphis and also Penny Hardaway as well.
The frustrating thing is that this is all just so stupid and something that was totally avoidable had Memphis just done what literally every school besides Memphis, I think, would have done when it was told James Wiseman had eligibility problems. All Memphis had to do is exactly what, you ready for this? Kentucky once did with Ennis Cantor. What Kansas once did with Billy Preston and Silvio De Sousa, what Louisville once did with Brian Bowen, what Syracuse once did with Fab Melo, what Carolina once did with P.J. Hairston, what Auburn once did with Austin Wiley and D'Angelo Purefoy. As I explained in a column back in 2019 that you reminded me of, Kyle. I forgot I'd written it, but you tweeted and I saw it. I was like, oh, that's pretty good. I was like, let me read it and see how this holds up. I was like, oh,
really
wow,
well.
this holds up really well.
Yeah.
As I explained in a column back in 2019, when eligibility issues arose with each of those players at some of the biggest schools in college basketball, that's the thing Memphis fans get caught up on sometimes. Oh, they're only doing this to Memphis. They wouldn't do this to Kansas. They literally have done it to Kansas multiple times. They wouldn't do this to Kentucky. They did it to Kentucky. Well, they wouldn't do this to North Carolina. They did it to North Carolina. You guys don't have Google? As I explained back in 2019, when eligibility issues arose with each of those programs, players were withheld from competition until the issues were resolved. Period. In some cases, they were never resolved favorably. Enes Kanter never played for Kentucky. Billy Preston never played for Kansas. But James Wiseman was always going to be able to play for Memphis eventually. All Memphis had to do was rule him ineligible and then apply for reinstatement instead of playing in those first 3 games. And I know that people sometimes bring up, well, he got an injunction. He went to court and got an injunction. Okay. He got an injunction. All that meant was that he couldn't be ruled ineligible. It didn't mean he had to play. There is no court or judge that can make Penny Hardaway turn in a certain starting lineup. No judge can make you, if I get an injunction, can I start for Memphis? What are you talking about? This is the thing that some Memphis fans just still cannot understand. Holy God. Just because he got an injunction doesn't mean he had to play. You didn't have to play him. All Memphis had to do is rule him ineligible, sit him out, and then apply for reinstatement. It would have likely resulted in a 9-game suspension. That's it. Instead, Memphis was like, Leroy Jenkins. They just ran in. Decided to play James Wiseman in defiance of the NCAA. It was stupid for a lot of reasons, but mostly because it triggered an infractions case that allowed investigators to look at everything. So they did. And now Memphis is charged with 4 level 1 violations. In a move that seemed dumb to anybody who understands how these things go, the Memphis president, emboldened by Memphis fans on Twitter and message boards who aren't nearly as smart at least when it comes to these things, as much as they are passionate when it comes to everything. The Memphis president decided the school should fight the NCAA. We're going to fight them. Okay. Well, how's that going? You enjoying this fight? Instead of just doing the smart thing and sitting James Wiseman for what would have been 9 games, you played him in defiance of the NCAA, which eventually led to a 12-game suspension, which eventually led to James Wiseman quitting the team the week before Christmas. You never even got to benefit from him. And now you spent who knows how much money on lawyers fighting this stupid fight. And now you're facing the possibility of major sanctions, among them a postseason ban, scholarship reductions, and a suspension for your head coach.
Yep.
How's your fight going? Let me ask you this.
Yeah, go ahead.
Memphis fans remain mad to this moment at the NCAA. And I get it. It's easy to hate the NCAA. But shouldn't Memphis fans actually be mad at the Memphis employees who decided to go down this foolish path rather than just do the only smart thing there was to do under those circumstances? And I want to be very clear. This is not revisionist history. On the day that it became known publicly that James Wiseman had eligibility issues and it was reported that Memphis was going to play him anyway, you can go pull the tapes. I said, this is idiotic. Like, this is a mistake. They should not be doing this. And I got turned into the bad guy. Oh, you're just a hater. No, I'm just not stupid. I'm just not dumb. And like some of the Memphis media got caught up in it too. I mean, people I'm friends with, they got caught up in it too. Oh, fight the NCAA. F the NCAA. You got to go fight. Okay. Go fight. See how that goes. You're being foolish and short-sighted. And now here we are. Why shouldn't Memphis fans be more upset with the people who put Memphis in this position for no good reason rather than the NCAA, which was just doing what it's done many times throughout its history, including to the biggest programs in the sport like Kentucky, Kansas, Carolina, Syracuse, Louisville, on down the line?
There's a long history of teams or programs having success by simply denying allegations to the NCAA or outright fighting allegations by the NCAA by simply denying. There's really not a history of programs like Memphis that are successful in completely thumbing your nose at the NCAA. And that's really what Memphis did in this case. They completely ignored, again, just basic norms, basic things that programs typically do when there's an eligibility issue. And instead of being patient, they decided to fight. And instead of, maybe Weissman serves a 9-game suspension and that's that. Now Memphis has a significant infractions case on its hand. Significant. And even in the moment, to know that it was wrong, that you called it out, and I don't mean to pump you up a little bit, but reading that column again earlier today, it is hilarious at how predictable this was, how avoidable it was for Memphis. And even in the moment, it almost felt like, okay, well, maybe Memphis knows something that we don't, because why else would they be doing this? That was not the case at all. They knew what we knew, and still they made the wrong decision. And clearly they're going to be paying for this. The question is how much. I'm curious to see how they handle this case, because this is an IARP case. And we don't have a lot of experience with how these cases are handled, but I am pretty confident that Memphis is going to get hit pretty hard with some sort of sanctions, probably scholarship losses. I would imagine a postseason ban. I would imagine several years probation. Hardaway is probably going to serve some sort of suspension, is my guess. I mean, it's a significant infractions case that, for the most part, feels like it was pretty avoidable.
Well, the dumb, like, there's a whole lot of dumb parts to this. Like, almost every part of it is dumb. But like, the dumbest part is, this isn't even one of those deals where the NCAA came in and said, hey, we think you did this thing. Now this player has an eligibility problem and you need to hold him out until we can resolve this. And Memphis is like, well, that thing didn't happen and we'll fight you on it because it just didn't happen. So let's fight. They had already agreed on the facts of the case. The NCAA had already said, hey, we think the mom got some money from Penny Hardaway when Penny was the head coach at East High School and James Wiseman was a player at East High School, and Memphis was like, yeah, that happened. I mean, I don't know that it went exactly like that, but my point is they all agreed on what happened. Like, Memphis has never denied that Penny Hardaway gave James Wiseman's mom money. So they agreed on the facts of the case. Memphis was just like, well, okay, yeah, that happened, but you shouldn't punish us for that. Let's fight. I mean, pick a fight where you can at least try to say didn't happen. Like the fight North Carolina picked with the NCAA. Like, at least they had a fighting chance. That's how they won. Because based on how the rule book is written, they were like, hey, there's a loophole here. We might be able to actually fight our way out of this. For Memphis, you can't agree that what the NCAA said happened, but then want to fight about it. Like, what are you even doing? And when you decide to fight about it, by fight about it, I mean play James Wiseman in defiance of the NCAA, you trigger an infractions case and you open yourself up to an investigation that is not limited to James Wiseman. Once they're on your campus, they can look at whatever they want to look at. Like, coaches have been talking about this for as long as I've been doing this, last thing you want to do is give the NCAA a reason to come on your campus, because they'll come on your campus looking for one thing and they'll find 50 other things. And now you got a bad problem. Don't ever let them on your campus looking at one thing, because it won't be that thing that gets you. It'll be everything else. And now here's Memphis getting charged with all these things that don't technically have much to do or anything to do with James Wiseman. It'd be like, imagine you're in a car and you get pulled over for like no turn signal. Cop pulls you over. Officer, what's the problem? Well, you didn't turn your turn signal on. You took a right. Okay. So I'm going to have to write you a ticket for that. Well, I'm not taking your ticket. Well, it's just like it's a minor ticket. It's not that big of a deal. You should just take the ticket. I'm not taking the ticket. I'll take that ticket, throw it right back in your face. Oh, okay. Well, like if you do that, then I'm going to have to arrest you. Well, watch this, because if you try to give me that ticket, I'm throwing it back in your face. Well, then I'm going to have to arrest you. I'm going to put you in handcuffs, and then we're going to search your car. Well, then that's just what you're going to have to do, because I'm fighting you on this very minor thing. So then they put you in handcuffs. They search your car, and you got 3 kilos of coke in the trunk. Now you're dealing with a felony charge. It's like, why would you want the cops to search your car when you got 3 kilos of coke in the trunk? Why would you invite that? Why wouldn't you just take your little minor turn signal ticket and be done with this? And that's perhaps not a perfect analogy, but you get the point. Memphis could have taken a little ticket. The ticket would have been a 9-game suspension for James Wiseman. No infractions case, no investigation. It would have been done. But you say, I'm not taking this little ticket. I'll throw it back in your face. We're going to fight with you. Hashtag free James Wiseman. I'm an idiot. All right. Well, now we're going to come look at everything we can look at. And now we just found a computer wiped clean. We can't get a hold of the cell phones the way we want to get a hold of them. We don't feel like you've been cooperating the way we think you should. And now you're facing all sorts of stuff. What were you doing? I mean, what were you doing? It's just so dumb. That's the part that's frustrating. It's so dumb. And too many of the Memphis fans still to this moment can't recognize how dumb it was or why it was dumb. I think most of them do. To their credit, I think most of them do. But not all of them. Some of them are still, they think it's NCAA out to get them or whatever. No, the NCAA wasn't out to get you. You went and threw an egg through the front window of a police station. Nobody was out to get you. But when you do what you did, well, now they coming for you.
It's just hilarious how truly avoidable this was. And I think Memphis's inexperience, specifically with the administration in any NCAA cases, probably showed itself in just an ugly way. Memphis would not make the same mistake if the same situation arose this tomorrow. But you certainly learned your lesson the hard way. And it's going to be pretty nasty, I would imagine, for Penny, for the program, and the same people who were tweeting hashtag free James Wiseman are probably going to be the people who are complaining loudest about the penalties that this program is up against.
That's the way it usually works. Before we get out of here, let me ask you a question. Are your go-to game day foods feeling uninspired? Next time, skip the usual suspects and order Jersey Mike's. At Jersey Mike's, they make every sub to order with premium fresh sliced meat, and cheesesteaks are cooked on a flat-top grill. Download their app for delivery, curbside, or in-store pickup. Jersey Mike's, proud sponsor of the Naismith Award and a proud maker of a sub above. Strong jaw, like I said earlier. CBS Sports, we have to turn in our Player of the Year ballots on Monday. Can you justify a first-place vote for anybody other than Oscar Tshiebwe? Not will you vote for anybody other than Oscar. Could you even do it without sounding silly?
I actually think you could make a case for Keegan Murray. I really do. I did not vote for Keegan Murray. I voted for Oscar Tshiebwe, but Keegan Murray was awesome down the stretch for Iowa. He was really good all season anyway, but I mean, the way that he carried Iowa in the Big Ten tournament, obviously Iowa was out early in the NCAA tournament, but I think you could reasonably make a case that he could be number 1 on the ballot. He was number 2 on my ballot. I think Oscar Tshiebwe is going to end up being something close to the unanimous number 1 on all of our ballots. But I think there's a clear number 1 and number 2. in my eyes, and it's Shibwe and Murray.
That will be my ballot as well. Oscar Shibwe 1, Keegan Murray 2, and then we'll see where it goes after there. Is it Johnny Davis? Is it Ochai Agbaji? Like, I actually thought there was a scenario after Oscar lost in the first round of the NCAA tournament, given that we don't vote until after the Elite Eight games are done, that there was a scenario where Johnny Davis, Keegan Murray could maybe have like a Kemba Walker type run through this thing, get Wisconsin or Iowa to the Elite Eight or Final Four, and now we got something to talk about. But Keegan Murray lost in the first round too. And Johnny Davis lost in the second round. I looked at Ochai Agbaji because, like, you know, barring upset on Sunday, Kansas will be in the Final Four, but like, it's just not there. I mean, he's averaging 18.9 points, 5.2 rebounds for a Kansas team that is at this moment 1 win away from the Final Four. He's been great, but he hasn't been great in this NCAA tournament. He hasn't been KU's best player. That's been Remy Martin. Ochai is averaging only 10.1 points in the tournament so far. So for him to like make us think about it, he would have had to have been consistently great in this NCAA tournament while Kansas advanced to the Final Four. And Kansas might go to the Final Four, but he hasn't been consistently great. So, yeah, I think it's going to be basically unanimous everywhere. When you look at the CBS Sports National Player of the Year or the Naismith National Player of the Year, what you're going to see is Oscar Shibwe, who had a terrific season. I mean, a historically great season, but one that ended on just the yuckiest note you can end on, you know, as the star of a 2 seed losing to a 15. And I know that 15 has now advanced all the way to the Elite Eight to become the first 15 seed ever to get that far in the tournament. But still, that's one that still stings. I don't think St. Peter's success after Kentucky lost to them makes that sting any less for UK fans. Maybe it does for some, but I don't see how it would.
No. And are we sleeping on Doug Eddert for Naismith Player of the Year?
Might need to look at it.
Yeah. Peacocks in the Elite Eight.
Well, we were on Inside, I think it's called March Madness 360, but like we were on CBS Sports Network earlier in the day, and Brent Stover, you know, sort of wondered like, okay, if you really don't vote until after the Elite Eight, because most Coach of the Year awards are decided already. And, you know, some of them like after, like before the NCAA tournament even starts. But Stove, you know, he pointed out, he said, okay, if you really don't vote until after the Elite Eight and you take everything into consideration, St. Peter's beats North Carolina on Sunday. Shaheen Holloway, National Coach of the Year. And I mean, I guess you could make the case. I would still go Kelvin Sampson just based on the entire body of work. But like Shaheen is 1 win away from taking St. Peter's to the Final Four. That's outrageous.
Yeah, and it doesn't feel like, I mean, if you wanted to vote for Shaheen, it doesn't feel like it'd be recency bias. You're looking at the grand scheme of things. I mean, taking St. Peter's to the Final Four would just be, I mean, one of the most remarkable accomplishments in all of college basketball this season. I mean,
well, like, no, like I'll take it a step further. It would be the most remarkable accomplishment. I mean, I don't want to get hyperbolic here, but
do it.
But I will. The most remarkable accomplishment in the history of Division I men's basketball.
Yeah.
I mean, getting the fact that no 15 seeds ever even been to the Elite Eight, and if he were to take it to the Final Four, I mean, I know you can argue Butler going to back-to-back title games was it like something we've never seen. And you could argue that doing that is more likely than a 15 seed just punching all the way through 1 year to the Final Four. But I don't know. I mean, I'll just keep it simple. A 15 seed has never gone to the Elite Eight. And, you know, Shaheen Holloway might be able to take it to the Final Four. That would be literally unprecedented and possibly the greatest achievement by a quote unquote mid-major / low major in the history of the sport. It's been an awesome NCAA tournament. I mean, not for really Kentucky fans, I know, but you know, I know, like, we don't know what's going to happen on Sunday yet, but there is a chance we get a Final Four with Duke, Carolina, Villanova, and Kansas. I mean, that's
pretty good.
Well, it's 4 blue blood programs. I was about to say 4 Hall of Fame coaches, but Hubert Davis is just in his first year as a head coach. But it would be like Hall of Fame coach Mike Krzyzewski, Hall of Fame coach Bill Self, Hall of Fame coach Jay Wright, and a first-year coach at his alma mater who lost to Pitt in February and was on the wrong side of the bubble when that happened. So, like, it's hard to do better. I guess I'd put it this way. If you were a television executive and you were drawing up possibilities before this tournament even got started, if somebody told you, you can let it play out, just see what happens, or right now I can give you Duke, Carolina, Kansas, Villanova, you'd be like, nope, I'll just take Duke, Carolina, Kansas, Villanova. We good. Give me that. We got a chance to, and I'm not trying to remove St. Peter's and Miami from the thing. It's going to be Final Four, be awesome no matter what. But like Duke, Carolina, Kansas, Villanova, that's some heavy hitters.
Yeah, and with 3 of the number 1 seeds already out of the NCAA tournament, it still feels pretty awesome. This tournament has been really, really good. There's been a lot of storylines. I don't actually believe there's been any buzzer beaters, but there's been a lot of really close games. There's been Cinderellas. I mean, double-digit seeds in the contention to make it to the Final Four. This tournament has been kind of awesome. It's given us a little bit of everything. So can't wait to see what the Final Four field is going to look like after Sunday's action.
All right, let's work on getting to bed. I got a 10 a.m. call time in the morning. That's going to be a rough one. I mean, getting up at 9. I mean, well, you got to get up at 9. Here's the problem.
East Coast. Yeah.
Well, once I do this, I don't go to sleep. Like I say, let's try to get to sleep. I won't be asleep till 4 a.m. I just can't sleep. I'm on a schedule now where I'm staying up to between 4 and 5 every night. That's not healthy.
What are you doing? Are you on your phone? You're watching
No, I'm not watching anything. I get work done. I'm working on. I'm in the process of compiling projected rosters for the preseason top 25 and 1. Boy, is that a nightmare.
Yeah.
Because I was talking to John Rothstein about this earlier. It's never been more difficult because players that would otherwise just leave because, hey, I don't care if I'm going to be in the NBA, I'll go overseas. Do you want to go overseas right now? There's a war going on in Europe. So there's that. That might push you back to school. Name, image, and likeness rights might push you back to school. And then, like, almost everybody is eligible to come back to school because of the extra COVID year. So you can't just go, well, he played 4 years, he's done. Like, there's some guy like Colin Gillespie, he's done. We know that. The 5-year guys are done. But the 4-year guys have another year left if they want it. So, like, how do you work through all that? Stressful. It's a stressful situation. It's a conundrum.
People
so that's what I've been doing.
The transfer portal, but still can come back to school. People are entering the transfer portal and leaving. You can enter the NBA draft, but return. Yeah, I get you. I get you. So when you get your Cindy Sweeney time in, is it over?
I think it's over for now. Euphoria's done.
You're caught up?
And of course I'm caught up.
Okay. All right.
I watched the final episode live.
My apologies.
You don't have to apologize. Now my attention is totally focused on Atlanta season 3.
Atlanta. Okay.
But it's on FX. Just started season 3.
Yeah.
First 2 episodes of season 3 dropped on FX Wednesday. Caught up on that, and so now I'm just working on rosters every night.
You seen Righteous Gemstones?
I'm behind on it.
Okay.
I love season 1, and then when it started in season 2, and I think it lined up with Euphoria. I think it was every Sunday night Euphoria and Righteous Gemstones, and I just didn't have time to watch both. Sydney Sweeney's in one of them. She's not in the other. So I decided to watch Euphoria. I got to get caught up on Righteous Gemstones. Do you recommend season 2?
I am on season 1. I just started it.
Oh, so that's great. Season 1's great. And I'm sure season 2 is great. There's too much. There's a real problem in college basketball season. I get way behind on my TV. I don't have time to watch much of it.
Me too.
I actually get stressed out about being behind on television shows. It makes me, I feel like I'm getting lazy, but I realize watching them would actually be the lazy thing. Not having time to watch them is not lazy, but I feel lazy because I feel like I'm behind. It's a conundrum.
There's a few shows that you absolutely have to be in lockstep with everyone while watching.
Right.
Like Game of Thrones was like that. If you're not watching it live, you're out of the loop. So
Right.
yeah, I get that. Yeah.
Euphoria almost got like that because there was a lot of online buzz about it. So
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, here's what I know. April 5th, the season's over, and I will spend the next subsequent month getting caught up on everything I need to get caught up. That's
Let's
a
go.
promise. That's a promise from me to myself. Shouts to Devin Downey. Shouts to Chester, South Carolina. Shouts to Jerome Lambert. He's a 6'8" legend. Actually averaged 18.5 points for Baylor in the 1993-94 season, and then transferred. Do you know this? Transferred to Oklahoma State to finish his college career.
Oh, wow.
Jerome Lambert.
Yeah.
Jerome Lambert averaged 18.5 points at Baylor and then decided he wanted to live Waco. He'd leave it? Seems like a mistake. But
You ever been to Stillwater, though? I mean, shoot.
Of course I've been to Stillwater. What's that bar everybody goes to in Stillwater? It's the cliche bar, but everybody goes to it. And
Eskimo Joe's?
yeah.
Yeah.
I've drank beer there.
Cheese fries.
I think probably. It sounds like something I would get.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Fantastic.
Shouts to Lardell. Thank you guys once again listening to the Ion College Basketball Podcast in the middle of the dumbest pandemic of my lifetime. If you're not subscribed, please go subscribe anywhere you subscribe to podcasts, including Apple Podcasts and Spotify. At Apple, please leave a nice review. There's more of us than there are of them. Don't let them trick you. Don't let them shame you. There's more of us than there are of them. If you're watching on YouTube, don't forget, smash the like button like you're Brandon Davies. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe. It'd be a big favor to us. Like I said earlier, after the 2 games on Sunday are concluded, Deadleg and I will be here, and we'll talk through what happened in Sunday's Elite 8 games, and then look ahead to the Final Four in New Orleans. So we'll see you on Sunday night. Till then, take care.